Hello, everyone. Um, well, good evening, good day, whatever part of the world you may be watching or listening to me at this time. Um, I just returned from the very uh, from the U.S. House Africa Subcommittee hearing that took place today on issues of religion and freedoms in Nigeria. And um, I thought I wanted to share some of my thoughts, or should I call it takeaways, from this very, very important public hearing that took place today. First and foremost, I would like to sincerely appreciate the U.S. Congress, the chair of the Africa Subcommittee in the House, Representative Smith, as well as the ranking member on the Democratic side, Congresswoman Jacobs, as well as other members of the committee. I think the amount of preparation, effort, and time that was put into today's hearing underscores the importance that the the people of the United States, put to its relationship with Nigeria as a strategic partner on the continent of Africa and beyond. Also, I would also like to express my commendation to the panel of witnesses today, uh, those from the Department of State, the two ambassadors from the Department of State, as well as the panel of academic and practitioner, including the presentation made by Ms. Oge Onubogu, who spoke during the last panel in today's hearing. I must say that it was a well attended public hearing, and it ran for almost 4 hours, if I'm not mistaken, because it started at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we were not done until right around just almost 3 p.m. Eastern time, and that means a lot. But I don't want to bore you with all those details. Now, what's my first take from today's hearing? The first thing I would like to that I notice from the talks and the discussions is that whether we like it or not, the narrative around the problem of insecurity in Nigeria uh, has changed in the last few weeks since President Trump made his first posting on Truth Social that if Christian genocide does not stop in Nigeria, he's ready to send U.S. troops gun blazing, and the military action will be sweet and swift. Since then, there's been several actions that has taken place, including the redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Um, Sadly so, but I'll come back to this later. But the key thing from the hearing today is that the discussion is no longer about terrorism in Nigeria. Rather, it's now being reduced to uh, a single issue of genocide against Christians in Nigeria. Again, there is an atrocious level. In fact, there is a very, very worrisome level of killings of Christians in Nigeria. The killing of one person, whether you're a Christian or you're a Muslim, anywhere is bad enough, let alone the unimaginable number of Christians that have been killed in Nigeria since 2009. But I would even add before 2009. I think my last two broadcasts, I did mention that what we're seeing today in Nigeria is it's like an anticlimax of many years of, you know, impunity that the government has allowed to go when the country has had episodes with religious crisis, right from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s. There is no government that has come into being in Nigeria since the 80s that has not dealt with one form of religious crisis or the other. Now, but what we're currently witnessing is nothing ever experienced in the country. So many churches have been burnt. A lot of Christian communities have been ransacked. People killed, maimed, women and young ladies raped, kidnapped, and so on and so forth. However, for balance, the issues are more complex than this. Today's conversation focused heavily on the north central part of Nigeria, including the Catholic priest who testified virtually from Nigeria, Bishop Anegbe. Everything he said is true. Nobody in their right mind will contest any of the things that have been said, but it is the characterization. And, for us as Nigerians, we are worried because we know the kind of country that we have, that it's a very complex country. And, slicing and dicing issues just from one single narrative has a tendency of complicating the matters further. Um, we've had incidences, terrible issues with terrorism in the northeastern part of the country that is predominantly Muslim, but there are also sizable Christian population in the northeastern part of Nigeria. And then in the northwest also, which is largely Muslim, but there are also minority Christian population in the northwestern part of Nigeria. The way Nigeria is, you can't just put a ruler and say, all right, Christians are to the south only, and the Muslims are to the north only. It's more diverse, it's more diffuse, it's more complex than that. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in this current situation. Now, the other thing that also came through from today's public hearing is that it's quite heartwarming to hear that the Nigerian government is now engaging with the US government. I think that is good. We understand there is a delegation in town led by the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu. They were not at this hearing today. If they were, maybe someone on the delegation that was not is not a known person to me. And of course, the hearing did not give space for the voice of the Nigerian government to come through. But we understand they've had meetings with the officials at the State Department, with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and also with members of Congress. I think those meetings are good, and it's a welcome development. That level of engagement needs to take place. But I'll be quick. I haste to say that, unfortunately, the government is too late to the party, because when the issue of redesignating Nigeria or as a country of particular concern did not just start with President Trump's Truth Social posting and so his subsequent speech from the Oval Office, but as we know, the government in Nigeria, that the government is likes to react more than being proactive. But this is what we have now. I hope the government takes lessons from that. Now, another point of worry, which relates to the very first point I made in terms of the narrative changing, is that because of the narrative that this is perhaps just about Christian genocide, we might be walking into a one-sided solution. And when I say we, in this sense, speaking more particular about the US government, with its intention to, support, to respond to this insecurity in Nigeria. It's being pursued from the angle of, oh, Christians are being killed, we have to act. And that could lead us to a one-sided solution. And I can tell you that feelers on the ground is already showing, fractures at those, tension points of religious coexistence in Nigeria. I mean, I can tell you from what I'm hearing in some communities that they are saying, oh, we hear the US, I mean, some Muslims, extremists and whatever in some parts of the country are already telling their Christian neighbors that we hear the US is going to, Donald Trump is going to send troops to come and fight on behalf of you Christians. And they are warning the Christians, stay, in local parlance, that, beware. That's what that literally translates to. And I think it's this kind of rhetoric that we're hearing from this side of the debate that is fueling that. So it's a very tender and tense, coexistence that we have in Nigeria, because Nigeria is many nations put together. It's a country that has been put together not because the people in that country chose to live together, rather by virtue of the colonial power, just determining and drawing lines, arbitrarily to say, hey, from point A to point C, we'll put you guys together. You're going to be living together, whether you like it or not. This is what we have. And so far, efforts at forging a national cohesion in Nigeria has faltered over the years. So it's more of how we manage those differences within the country. But that does not absolve the government of Nigeria their responsibility that over time, the government has failed to act when it mattered most. And we are now seeing everything coming to a head. So we might be working towards a one-sided solution to what I will call a multi-dimensional problem. But I hope with the discussions going on between governments on both ends, they will find a more coordinated approach to resolve, to helping to find a solution to this situation. Now, the other thing is that from the body language and, the questions and, presentations by different congressmen, I will say, and congresswomen also, I will say that the United States is not kidding around over this issue. The US administration and the Congress are serious about taking action on the issue of violence, insecurity, genocide in Nigeria. And I think this is an important point. It's a positive development because for a long time, Nigerians have been asking, who is going to help us? And I don't think Nigerians at any point in time has ever shied away from receiving assistance. But I think over time, there's been different dynamics at play. Again, I would say to commend President Trump, like him or you don't like him, in his first time in office, he was very responsive to the to supporting Nigeria combat terrorism in the country. I wouldn't say the same of President Obama. I will not hesitate to say that here, because under his administration, when this Boko Haram, the terrorism issue, when it started, the government then reached out to the US government led by President Obama, and it did not do anything. That's just, and I'm saying that, to as much as I, is someone I admire, I like, I love, I think it failed in that regard. So Trump, to his credit, has done well. And even these statements that has kind of snowballed into what we are currently witnessing. I will also commend him for raising, raising the issue, because for the fact that Trump raised the issue, it jolted the government of Nigeria into action, and which is a very sad thing, because governments it is your fundamental basic responsibility to provide security for your people. You don't have to wait for a foreign power, to kind of wield the big stick on you. Before you wake up and you do the right thing. If you are a parent, you don't expect, your children to be the responsibility of another man or another woman elsewhere. They are your responsibility. The government of Nigeria has a duty and a responsibility to protect the citizens of Nigeria, and our government has failed in that regard. So I would say the U.S. government is serious about what it intends to do in Nigeria. Now, I think it's, for all intent and purpose, Nigeria is, the Congress is going to approve of the redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Now, yeah, nobody would like Nigeria to be there, but there might be some good coming out of this, as one of the presenters said during the hearing, that this is also an opportunity, for every challenging situation in life. You have to look on the bright side, and I think the being redesignated as a country of particular concern also opens up other possibilities for cooperation, for collaboration between the United States and Nigeria. Perhaps this is the approach that the government of Nigeria should be pursuing. For me, I would also like to suggest that with the redesignation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, I would like to see that as part of this ongoing conversation between both countries, that they establish a framework of what I will call incentive and progress. Of course, Nigeria will not want to remain forever on that list of country of particular concern. Of course, the U.S. administration, I believe, is using that designation as a carrot and stick approach. But to undergird all of that is that there should be a framework that should be put in place, and I'm calling that framework, incentive and progress, in a way that, all right, if we are going to remove you from this list, you must do A, B, C, D, and this within so timeline. This is what we would like to see by way of action. And on the Nigerian side, all right, yes, we are ready to move from point A to point B. How will the U.S. administration support us? Is it militarily? Is it in terms of training? In the past, I think the U.S. Army provided top security training for Nigeria Navy SEAL. How effective is that? Is that something that can be better retooled, recalibrated, and that could form part of the basket of incentives that the U.S. administration provides, and then it also becomes one of the touch points to monitor progress of Nigeria in dealing with the situation that it's currently confronted with. Now, for this situation also, it is important, it is very, very crucial that there should be no unilateral action taken by, especially the U.S. government. Any unilateral action, it will amount to shaving someone's head in that person's absence, and it's not possible. No matter how well intentioned the actions of the Congress and the U.S. administration might be, it should be taken. Those actions, those decisions should be taken in coordination with the government of Nigeria, of course, represented by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his and those he has appointed to act in that capacity, with all the different levels of trust building confidence and trust building measures put in place, because without trust and confidence also, everything that we are talking about is going to collapse. So the US government is going to demand, that trust is a cardinal point in any attempt to move forward. And I think the Nigerian government also would like to have the confidence that, yes, we give you our trust, but then can we also be confident in the fact that when we require help, you will be there, to provide that help. Now, it's also important that as part of that, there should be a proper diagnosis of what the issues are, what the problems are. A problem well diagnosed, then we can find solution to it. There are areas in Nigeria where we know that we have historic issues, that has now morphed into this issue of terrorism, and is also manifesting itself in the killings of Christians by these Islamic elements. What we are seeing, you don't just, it's not that my Muslim neighbor wakes up and then he kills me because I'm a Christian. No, but we have these jihadists, we have these fundamentalists who, God knows where these criminal elements come from, and they just come to kill, to maim, and, just soak the land in blood, but their activities is also, it's being propelled by some age-old issues around land, issues around indigenship, in some communities that has now woven itself into the Hydra-headed problem that we're dealing with. Now, for the government of Nigeria, the president, the broadcast I made yesterday, I actually addressed you, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I will not fail to also address you in light of what is happening in this episode also. Appoint for Nigeria a serious, articulate, intelligent, experienced ambassador that you will post to the United States. It doesn't take a rocket scientist for you to find someone that fits that profile. And please don't send a politician that will come to the United States and do nothing but just politics. This is not about APC, PDP, ADC, Labour Party. This is about the existence of Nigeria. Find from the 230 million people you have in your country very brilliant, intelligent, well-connected people who can come and represent the affairs of Nigeria in the United States. Your government is failing woefully on this point, Mr. President Tinubu, and you must redeem yourself. You must redeem your government. It's important because there are conversations going on at levels that a charge d'affaires cannot be part of the conversation. You are failing, and your failure in this regard is affecting the image of Nigeria in this country. The other point, Mr. President Tinubu, is that Nigeria requires a whole of government approach and a whole of community approach to deal with this problem of insecurity. It's a shame that we are in the 21st century, the year 2025, and Nigeria still does not have a national security number that citizens in the remote areas of the country can just call, a 3-digit code number that people can call in situations of emergency. So how do you want to deal with marauders, bandits, jihadists who just, rolling into communities in the daytime, in the nighttime, and people get confused. They don't even know who to call. You lived in the United States, President Tinubu. You live in Europe, and all it takes is for you to call 911. Even a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old child can memorize that. It is not too much. We have the telecommunication firms and all of them who operate in Nigeria that you can sit down with and develop that system for the country. You talk about rebuilding Nigeria's security architecture. But today, Nigeria does not have a single code that Nigerians can call in times of emergency when they need, they need to call, an emergency line, when they need to, they need police action or police response when they are faced with danger. That is something that can be done. And it does not require Nigeria to go bring a nuclear scientist to develop, a simple security code. We need a whole of government approach and a whole of community approach to help Nigeria overcome this problem of insecurity. So it's very, very important. But above all, sir, find the perpetrators of this evil. The Yewata killings, the police announced, after some few days back in June or July, oh, we've arrested some people. What has gone on with those people that were arrested? Have we seen them being put up for trial? And, we have also seen kidnappings, that 2 kidnappings in Kwara State within the space of 24 hours. One in the southern part, one in the northern side of Kwara State. It's very, very worrisome. Governors in Nigeria also, it is not just enough for you to be paying solidarity. I see the progressives governor, that's what they call themselves, governors under the platform of the ruling party. You have put yourself together, you went to Kebbi State to pay solidarity visit to your colleague there. It's a bloody waste of time. You need to sit down, govern your state, provide solution. You've got the resources. Government is providing each state with more resources. And as part of your priority is to ensure safety of lives and properties of people who live in your respective states. The last thing I will say is concerning the issue of state policing in Nigeria. The National Assembly, this is time for you to wake up. Whatever is holding that process from going forward, it is now high time that process should start. Nigeria cannot be policed by one single federal police. Let us have state police in Nigeria. Provide the necessary safeguards and safeguards to protect the police from being misused by politicians, governors and so on, who we know want nothing but more power and more power to control and make sure that anyone and everyone that lives within each state is subservient to them at all times. No, we want a police structure at each state that knows the terrain of the state, are responsive to the need of the people, and they can act more quickly rather than waiting for the Inspector General of Police in Abuja before anything is done. This is important. Nigeria is at a critical point in its history, and this is a time for statesmen, Mr. President Tinubu, to stand up and act as statesmen. If you have appointed people who cannot perform, fire them. I heard on the news this evening that the president is instructing the Minister of State for Defense to move to Kebbi State to oversee the rescue of the 25 girls that were kidnapped 2 days ago. That's fine, but does it even require you giving that kind of instruction? It comes without saying that should be part of the first response, that people you have appointed to positions should take responsibility for the position that you have appointed them to. So again, you need a whole of government approach, and perhaps I should mention that as part of that whole of government approach, don't just see this thing as purely, oh, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Police. Let each government unit and department now begin to develop what is our strategy for security. Today, we are talking about school children being kidnapped in the Northwest, in the North Central. What are they doing in the south of the country? What assures us that the kidnapping cannot, move on to schools in the southeast, southwestern part of the country. What is the security strategy for you to protect schools, for you to protect markets, for you to protect public spaces, for you to protect those ungoverned spaces that we know we have so many of such in Nigeria? Thank you. I didn't intend for this broadcast to be this long, but I just wanted to quickly share my thoughts from the hearing. Again, my appreciation to the Congress, and the members of Congress who were at this hearing today, and sincere appreciation also to all those who testified, during the hearing today. Thank you for listening. And if this is your first time coming across this channel, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when we upload new episodes. Until the next time, so long.